If you're just starting out or if you feel like you don't know enough, don't worry. Everyone starts somewhere. What matters is that you keep learning, keep practicing, and keep moving forward. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be discouraged by setbacks. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to share my story with you. A journey that starts way back in my first year of college, goes through my ups and downs, and leads all the way to my current job as a web developer. I hope you find something here that inspires or encourages you, especially if you're just starting out feeling a bit lost in your own path. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning. My first year in college. To be honest, I was just coming out of high school, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. Everything was new people, new environment, new freedom. It almost felt like a game. I was just going along for the ride, not really taking things too seriously yet. I took up Bachelor of Science in Information Technology, or BSIT. But if I'm being honest, I didn't take it that seriously at first. I was more focused on having fun, making friends, and just exploring what college life had to offer. I remember hanging out with my classmates, making jokes, sometimes skipping classes just to eat together or play games. Just enjoying the freedom that college brings after the more structured life in high school. What's funny is, even though I wasn't really focused on my major, I ended up getting an award in Filipino. Yes, Filipino. It's a subject that's pretty far from IT, but somehow I managed to stand out in that area. I was recognized as a Filipino First awardee, and it felt great, even if it didn't really have much to do with my chosen course. Looking back, that award gave me a small boost of confidence, proof that I could achieve something if I just put it the effort, even if it wasn't in the field I was supposed to be focusing on. But overall, my first year was about getting used to college. It was a period of adjustment, of figuring out who I was and what I wanted. I didn't know it yet, but those small experiences, meeting different kinds of people, joining simple events, even just learning how to live away from home, would become the foundation for everything that came next. Moving into my second year, things started to change. This time, we had what we called a baby thesis. It wasn't as big or as scary as a real thesis, but it was the first time we were asked to create something practical, an actual application that could be used by the school. Our group was assigned to build a web app for the registrar's office. The idea was to help them manage their inventory, things like pens, papers, and even machines. We used PHP to develop the system, and our main goal was to let the registrar see how many supplies were left and keep things organized. I remember those nights staying up late, trying to code, figuring out how to make things work. Sometimes we'd get stuck on a bug for hours, and it would feel like our brains were about to explode. But what made it more interesting was the dynamic in our group. There were five of us, but to be honest, I was the only one who really knew how to code. One of my group mates, instead of contributing to the coding, would bring food for everyone. I asked him why, and he admitted, I don't really know how to code, so I brought food instead. At least I can help in my own way. We all laughed about it, but it taught me something important, that everyone contributes differently, and teamwork isn't always about doing the same thing. Even though we weren't able to finish all the features, we still managed to pass. The experience taught me more than just coding. It taught me about responsibility, about working with people who have different strengths, and about finding ways to make things work even if everything isn't perfect. By the time I got my third year, the projects started to pile up. But here's the thing, not all of them were related to IT. We had projects for math, sports, and even subjects that seemed completely out of place for an IT student. At first, it was frustrating. Why we're supposed to spend time on things that weren't related to our course. But looking back, I realized that those random projects helped me become more adaptable. Sports, for example, taught me the importance of staying healthy, especially now that I work from home and spend a lot of time sitting down. Math projects, though tough, trained my mind to think logically and solve problems step by step. Of course, there were still programming projects, and that's when things started to get interesting. I began to see the bigger world of programming with all its challenges and excitement. It was in my third year that I really started to fall in love with coding. I enjoy the feeling of solving a problem, of turning an idea into something real. That's when I realized this is something I want to pursue. Fourth year came, and with it, the main thesis. This one was a big deal. Our group decided to create an app similar to Amazon but focused on groceries. The idea was for customers to send us their grocery list and we would do the shopping for them. It was a bold project and honestly, we had a lot of vision for it. We used PHP again and each of us had our own roles. But just like before, I ended up doing most of the coding. There were so many features to implement: inventory tracking, order forms, receipt generation, sending notifications, and more. Sometimes it felt, overwhelming, but I was determined to get it done. During our thesis defense, we were nervous. The app wasn't perfect. Some features weren't fully functional, but we presented and defended it as best we could. The dean, who was also one of the panelists, was impressed with the core idea and some of the features that did work. He even suggested more improvements, which I took as a sign that we were on the right track. In the end, we passed, and I learned one of the most valuable lessons of my college life. You don't have to be perfect to succeed. Sometimes your effort and willingness to learn matter more than the final product. And here comes the graduation. Graduation was both exciting and terrifying. On one hand, I was finally done with school. I could celebrate and relax, but on the other hand, the real world was waiting. And that meant finding a job. My friend and I started applying everywhere. We submitted online applications, did walk ins, and went to as many interviews as we could. Some companies replied, some didn't. Sometimes it felt discouraging, but we kept going. Finally, after months of searching, we got hired. It was a huge relief, and I remember feeling both nervous and excited for my first real job. On my first day at work, I realized something shocking. I didn't know anything, at least not enough to actually do the job. I barely understood HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, which were required in my position. Everything I thought I learned in school suddenly felt so far away. But I didn't let that stop me. I knew I had to learn fast, so I paid close attention during training, took notes, and asked questions. The first month or two was all about absorbing as much as I could. Sure, I made mistakes, but each one taught me something new. Eventually, my boss started giving me small tasks, one or two designs a day. My job was to turn those designs into actual web pages using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then make them responsive for different devices. Then after that, I would convert the projects into WordPress sites. Whenever a client or the design team wanted something unique, I had to figure out how to make it happen. Sometimes using advanced CSS, sometimes JavaScript. It was tough, but I pushed myself to improve. Little by little, I got better. I became more confident in my skills. And eventually, the work that once felt impossible became something I look forward to every day. And then, after that, things started to move faster. I kept learning new things, tackling bigger projects, and expanding my skills. I learned about responsive design, user experience, and how to optimize websites for speed and accessibility. I started to experiment with different frameworks and tools, exploring beyond just WordPress and PHP. Each new, challenge was an opportunity to grow. Looking back, those early struggles at work were some of the most important moments of my career. They taught me resilience, curiosity, and the value of never giving up. And after gaining some experience, I decided to try freelancing. I was excited about the freedom and the idea of being my own boss. But the reality was much harder than I expected. Some clients didn't like my work. Others would disappear in the middle of a project. There were times I worked for hours and didn't get paid. It was discouraging, but at the same time, it taught me valuable lessons. I learned how to communicate better with clients, how to manage my time, and how to set expectations. I realized that freelancing isn't just about technical skill. It's also about professionalism, negotiation, and even a bit of marketing. Even though I didn't become an instant success, each failure pushed me to get better. I kept practicing, kept learning, and kept moving forward. While I was figuring things out, I kept practicing on my own. I built WordPress sites on my local computer, trying out different plugins, themes, and layouts. I would break things on purpose just to see if I could fix them. This helped me understand how everything worked behind the scenes. The more I practiced, the more confident I became. I learned not to be afraid of making mistakes because every mistake was a chance to learn something new. Life isn't always about work. Sometimes things happen that you don't expect. At one point, I had to undergo surgery for my kidneys. It was a tough time. I was stuck in bed, recovering, unable to do much physically. But even during recovery, I didn't stop learning. I used my laptop to keep practicing web development, building small projects, and watching tutorials online. It gave me something positive to focus on and helped me stay motivated through a difficult period. That experience taught me the importance of perseverance, even when things aren't going your way. After recovering, I decided to work in a call center. It was a completely different environment from web development. Every day, I had to talk to people, sometimes angry, sometimes upset, sometimes just needing help. At first, it was hard for me to speak English fluently and communicate clearly. But day by day, I improved. I learned how to listen, how to empathize, and how to explain things in a simple, friendly way. Those communication skills turned out to be incredibly valuable, not just for customer service, but also for working with clients, teammates, and even in daily life. Eventually, I found my way back to web development. This time, I was more prepared. All the skills I gained from coding to teamwork to communication came together and helped me become a better developer. I started working for different companies, taking on more challenging roles and projects. Sometimes I was a front end developer, sometimes I handled back end tasks, depending on what the client need. Each company taught me something new. Each project pushed me to get better. I didn't find a perfect job right away. I worked for a lot of companies, some good, some not so good, but I kept searching for a place where I could truly grow and provide for my family. Eventually, I found a company that really supports me. It's the largest vehicle wrapping company in the US, and I get to work from home as a web developer. This job not only helps me support my family, it also gives me the flexibility to spend time with them and take care of other responsibilities. I'm very grateful for where I am now, and I know it wouldn't have been possible without all those challenges and lessons along the way. Looking back, I realized that most of what I know now, I didn't learn in school. School gave me the basics, but real learning happened through experience, through failing, trying again, and never giving up. If you're just starting out or if you feel like you don't know enough, don't worry. Everyone starts somewhere. What matters is that you keep learning, keep practicing, and keep moving forward. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be discouraged by setbacks. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. All right, so that's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to keep going, no matter where you are in your journey. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. Every day is a chance to learn, improve, and get closer to your goals. If you have any questions or if you want to share your own story, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, everyone, and keep moving forward.